Hey everybody, it's Johnny in the training department. Wanted to come to you with a little short video. I got Will Murdoch here with me as well. Since we can't do one-on-one training, we thought we would try to put together some training videos. We're going to try to push you out one a week. I just threw down a gauntlet, Will. I'm going to try to push out one a week to you guys. If you've got ideas for topics, start sending them to us. We've already got a few that we've got from our TCs. So the one we're going to do right now is about reading the regeneration history in the product status report and the importance of it. So let's dive right in it. So we've been noticing that with regeneration histories, we're able to do a lot of diagnostics on our system. Knowing why the regeneration started and how it ended is actually kind of important. So one thing I have ran into, though, is some people don't have those histories on their product status report, because it doesn't put it there unless you tell it to. So let's jump into ET and just make sure you've got your preferences set that we get these histories. So under utilities, preferences, modify, a couple things. Let's go first to default settings. So under default settings, here's a couple default settings that I want you to make. One is make sure that when you start ET, that it does not go here to ECM summary. It goes to product status report. Now, as soon as I launch ET, mine's going to go to product status report. Hey, it's the first thing you should do anyway. Why not have it be the first screen that pops up? And the other thing I like to do is to uncheck this automatically connect on startup. When you first turn the key switch on, I'm bad about opening ET and then turning the key switch on. And a lot of times that's why you miss ECMs. And sometimes you see 4 and sometimes you see 6. And it's one of the reasons that happens. So if you uncheck that, turn the key on, just wait for everything to power up, wait for the monitor to sweep and the gauges to do all their stuff, and then just pop right here and hit connect, and it should help you a lot. But also under the product status report tab, go ahead and hit check all. That's going to get all the information, and if you scroll way down here, you can find right here is histories. That box is not normally checked, which means you're not going to get those histories. So I like to just go ahead and hit check all. Once you hit check all, you can hit OK. There are several other settings in ET. Come to our ET class. We'll teach you all about those. Now that we've got ET set up, let's talk about these histories. So what I'm going to do is pull up product status report. Go here to my product status report folder. I'm going to open one up, and we're going to look at some of these histories. And so when you open your product status reports, you know, most of the time you're all the way up here. And so the regeneration histories, this is for engines with an active regeneration system. Those engines are going to have an after treatment ECM. So here's your after treatment ECM, and if that don't come up, just to show you, if yours looks like this when you open it, hit that little arrow, and then this little paper clip. I'm sorry, that one. And so now we're going to find our after treatment ECM. Let's see. C18 chassis. Here we go. Here's your after treatment ECM. There's your histories. Click on your histories. It takes you right to your after treatment regeneration history. Now, JP's outside on the forklift making a lot of noise. You hear him? Oh, just about backed into a fan. Sorry, that's what do you call that? A near miss? We're going to go through this. We're going to go through this after treatment regeneration history, and we're going to go through all these columns. But just in case later on you kind of forget what all these are and you don't want to watch this video again, you can search this in SIS. So let's go to SIS, which, by the way, loving my 2.0. Hope you are. One thing I love about 2.0 is this is a one search. I don't need a serial number. I don't need a prefix. I don't need anything. I can search part numbers. I can search media numbers. I can search words, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put in here after treatment regeneration history, and I'm just going to hit search. Look there, 97 results. So the one I'm looking for is the ET service features. So I'm going to open this one up. One thing I'm not crazy about on 2.0 is it doesn't take you straight to what you searched. You have to use the old Control F. So I'm going to Control F, and here we go. After treatment regeneration history. So it tells you this provides details on how recent regenerations have been triggered and shut down. That's the big thing with this history. I love to know, why did the regen start? What triggered a regeneration? There are several things that can trigger it, and the triggers give you an indication of why it started. And also, how did it end? What was the end status? There are several ways that it can end incorrectly, and knowing which one of those it is extremely important. Another thing I just noticed here, it says, use regeneration history for troubleshooting with diagnostics and event codes only. Never troubleshoot the system off of. Don't worry too much about that. This is information. That's what this is. This is a tool to use while troubleshooting. So, but here it explains all the columns, and each one's numbered, and here's the explanation. And for example, column 2 is the trigger type, and things like startup and ARD maintenance and SCR and soot and pressure and service. And so, for example, if you're seeing pressure, what does that mean? If your trigger says pressure, what does that mean? Well, it means that it was triggered by the DPF, differential pressure sensor. So either the differential pressure is legitimately high in your DPF because it's full, or there's something wrong with the sensor or clogged up tubes to the sensor. Something is making it think it's full. Either way, the reason that it keeps trying to regenerate is because it thinks that there's too much differential pressure. So knowing the reason is important. And the rest of these columns are explained out. We'll talk about them. For now, let's jump back into our product status report, and let's look at a few of these. So in this first column tells you the speed type. The speed type is one of two. It's either going to be a high speed or a low speed. So the difference between those two is a high speed regeneration is one where the machine is working while the regeneration is happening. So if your regeneration speed type begins as high speed, that means the machine was being worked. If it says low speed, that means the machine was parked. Here's your trigger type, and notice on this machine, all we see is start, 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 start. So this is only has startup regenerations. This is the most common thing you should see. So long as an operator is letting everything happen like it's supposed to, about 90% of your regeneration trigger types are going to be startup. So knowing what's triggering your regeneration is important. The next column here is just your enabled status for your system, and obviously this one's enabled, otherwise we would not have an automatic regeneration. Then we have our time and our machine hours, and this next one is a readiness status, and it's kind of useless information, but just so you'll understand it, statuses 1, 2, and 3 are high speed. Statuses 4 through 7, I believe it is, are low speed. So kind of redundant information here on these two, but it always tells you your soot percentage at the beginning of the regeneration. Later on, it'll show us the soot percentage at the ending. Here's your end speed type. So it began as high speed, it ended as high speed. That just means that the machine was being worked the entire time. If they would have parked it, then it would have ended as a low speed. So you can see that change. Another thing that can change is the trigger type can change. It can begin as one type, but end as another. It's not very common that would happen, but it is possible. And so it looks like that's it. That's all you got, but it's not. There's more to it. If you keep rolling down, you'll get to the remaining columns. Here's your regeneration ending time. That's actual clock hours. Here's the ending service hours. Here's your ending soot percentage. Notice this one's always had at the beginning and at the end 0%. Right here is the meat of it, the end status. Now notice this one has attempted several regenerations. It's only completed one. Out of all the times it's tried, it's only been able to complete one. So why has it been unable to complete the others? Is there something wrong with the art head? Is there a problem in the DPF? And no, you can see it right here. Work, work, work. So if you don't know what that means, hey, go back to SIS. Our end status here is column 13. Column 13 says work means the machine went back to work. So wait a minute, I thought you could do a regeneration while you work the machine. Yep, you absolutely can. But you can also operate the machine in a way that the regeneration is not able to complete. There is a speed and a load acceptable parameter you got to stay within, and it's very possible to get out of it. And evidently, this operator gets out of it. So there's nothing wrong with the machine here. Thankfully, we don't have any soot percentage to worry about. But if we did, and they were shut down because this thing was in a DPF warning and a D rate, and the only thing that would have to happen is, hey man, you just need to park it one time and let it do a regeneration. It was able to do it once, but only once. Now this one here, disabled, that's a little bit different. That's not work. That means that they actually pushed the button and they pushed the regen cancel button here and stopped it. So you can see how, if you know that, well, the reason it's trying to do a regeneration is simply because of a startup regeneration. However, they're working this machine and never letting it complete. You can see a story here. It can tell you a story. You can see that there's nothing wrong with the system. Just need to change the way they operate. So let's look at another one. Let's look at another product status report. So here again, find our after treatment ECM. There we are. There's our histories. So here we got another one, and we got some more information. We got a good bit on this one. Notice here on the after treatment regeneration speed type, we see a couple different now. We're seeing high speed and we're seeing low speed. Remember, high speed means it was working when it started. Low speed means it was parked. Here's our trigger types, and we see, again, the majority of them are startup regenerations, but now we're seeing a few different ones. We're seeing pressure. Remember, we looked at that earlier, and pressure said that, hey, that means the DPF differential pressure sensor. And if you notice, at every one of these, pressure, the soot load is at 80%, 80%, 80%. So that's the percentage of soot where the ECM will try to automatically regenerate. So notice the rest of these have been startup. So about 90% of them, about 90% of these are startup regenerations. We do have one right here that says ARD maintenance, and if you're not sure what that is, go back to SIS and look up here in your trigger column number 2. ARD maintenance is triggered to maintain the ARD system. Remember, there's a 32-hour clock that's always running in the background. It wants to perform at least one regeneration every 32 hours so that it can perform this maintenance on the ARD head, run that heated nozzle cycle. So that was the trigger. Here was that 32-hour clock. So soot load's getting pretty high, but that wasn't the trigger. The trigger here was the ARD maintenance, the 32-hour clock. So there's our trigger type. Here's our enabled status, our time. Here's your readiness status, and you'll see again, 1s, 2s, and 3s are all going to be high speed. 4s and up are going to be low speeds. Here we got some soot percentage here, 69, 57, 34. But notice here, while we do have soot percentage, that's not the trigger. That's not the reason. The reason that it triggered the ARD head is for a startup regeneration. Until we get down to this one. Yep. Now this one is our trigger. So it's important to know, here's our end status and here's our end trigger types. So let's go down here and see how we did on our end status. So here's our end statuses. Here's our date and time and machine hours and soot percentage. And Here's our regeneration status: work, complete, work, complete, 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 work, complete. So it looks like the majority of these are complete. We got one little lone guy right here that's unsuccessful, but the vast majority of these are complete. That's why the vast majority of the trigger types are startup. So long as those startup regenerations are completed, it's going to be about 90%. And so this goes along with it. But you can see here a few times that it's not completed because of how they're operating the machine. But for the most part, I think they're doing a great job of how they're operating this machine. The vast majority are complete. However, there is another issue here that's probably going to come up, and you can find it right here. After your regeneration history is your after treatment abnormal shutdown history. Again, you could search that in FIF, but this one's fairly self-explanatory. Whenever you turn the machine off, if the after treatment temperature, the clean emissions module temperature, is above a threshold, the engine's going to continue to run so that it can cool the art head, that it can keep the depth injector cool. Right here, it tells you your threshold on this one's 518 degrees. So that's the threshold. That's not the actual temperature, that's the threshold. So we were above that, and they turned the key switch off and the engine continued to run. Well, instead of allowing it to run, what they have done is turn the key switch backwards one more time to the emergency shutoff position. And if it was an emergency, then absolutely, that's what you're supposed to do. However, if you look, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh boy. Yeah, we got quite a few here. I don't think they're having this many emergencies. It's possible. More than likely, they're a little impatient. Let's see here. 6 o'clock in the evening. Well, that's middle of the day. Lunchtime, time to eat, kind of shut her down. That's beer 30 right there for sure. I don't know why the reason they're probably doing this is because they don't really know what they're doing. So if you see this is absolutely a great opportunity to have a conversation with an operator. Ensure that they know why it's running and why it's important that they wait and allow it to run. It will cut itself off when it gets below this threshold. Especially if you're there and you're troubleshooting and you find that, oh, I've got a cracked art head, go check these abnormal shutdown histories. If you have one that looks like this, then you probably know why your art head is cracked. So this is important. Make sure your operators understand this. These after treatment regeneration histories are great tools to use. If you have any questions on this, if anything doesn't make sense, please be sure to contact tech services, contact the training department. Another thing that's also awesome is when you do your product status report and you grab these histories, let's go ahead and put that product status report where it needs to go so that we can see it along with you, so that the TCs can see it along with you. So just real quick to hit that, I think you guys are all familiar with what's on my screen right now. In Service Link, I want to make sure you're putting these product status reports in the right place. We're not attaching them to the work order. We're attaching them to the serial number of the machine. So if you come over here to this little gray tab, the equipment tab, instead of putting it to the work order number, come right here to Documents, click on Documents, and then right over here you can click Add. And right here is where you can browse, find that product status report in your folder, and then click Upload. So now whenever we go to look at it with you, we can see your product status report and look at it pretty easily. So guys, I hope this was helpful. Hope you're all staying safe, and we'll talk to you soon with another video.